In this video, I want to go over a new bar that I've been testing out for the last couple days. Is the bar that you see at the very top of my screen, which is replacing the macOS menu bar. Notice that here on the left, it shows me the app that I'm on right now, which is Ghosty. And here on the right hand side, it shows me other stuff that I think are useful. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up this bar from scratch. Even if you're a beginner, I'm going to share my configuration in case that you want to set it up this way. And I'm going to compare it to the bar that I have been using for a year, I think, which is called SketchyBar. At the end of the video, I'm going to let you know what I like about this bar, what I don't like about it, and if I prefer it over SketchyBar or not. So let's jump right in. Notice that I'm in NeoVim right now. This is the guide that I'm going to be following in the video, and the link to this guide is going to be in the video description as well. Let me jump to my browser real quick. Here it is. And let's start with the prerequisites. First of all, you have to hide the macOS menu bar. Notice that I left the link here. If you click on this, it's going to send you to another page, another blog post that I created some time ago. And this is what you need to do. You can do it with a command, or notice that you can also do it by going to system settings, the way that is shown here. So once you have done that, you can come back to this page. Notice that if I go up to the very top of the page, you're going to see that the macOS menu bar shows up. So it's always there, but it's just hidden. And the other bar is the one that shows in the background. So after hiding the macOS menu bar, we need to install the apps that we need. But before we can install the apps, we need to have Homebrew installed, which is just a macOS package manager. This is the way that I install applications using Homebrew. I don't like installing stuff through DMG files. Why? Because if I move to another computer, I want to automate the installation of all my different applications. If you don't know what Homebrew is, if you don't know how to install it, I have a video and you'll be able to find it here. I go through every step that is needed, and I also show you how to install apps in that video. So go and check that out first. If you like this type of content and you want to support me, I created a Ko-fi page and I set a goal. I want to improve my hardware. So if you want to donate to the cause, I'm leaving the details here and I'm leaving a link to the Ko-fi page as well. I have a lot of different videos, not only related to macOS, but NeoVim, home labbing, and a lot of other stuff. So if after watching any of my videos, you have questions, you need assistance, you need some sort of support, you just want to join the Discord community, you can click on this link, or you can also click on the image shown here. If you want to follow me on Twitter in case that my YouTube account is deleted or something, I'm going to leave the link here so we can stay in touch. All of the videos that I'll be mentioning in this guide are going to be in the video description. And also the link to this blog post is going to be in the video description so you can follow along and copy and paste all the commands that are needed. This is the first application that we need to install. This is the app that allows you to display widgets on macOS. They're written in HTML5. They can be shown anywhere. On the desktop, if I wanted, I could have a widget here on the right-hand side that shows me the battery or something. Or you can also show a widget at the top of the screen, which is what we're doing right now. Notice that this is a widget that has different items, we could say. And the name of this widget, as you can see here, is Simple Bar. And it's very similar to the bar that I have been using before, which is called SketchyBar. I'm going to switch to SketchyBar in a little while so you can see it and compare it as well and see which one you like the best. So if you want to learn how to set up SketchyBar, I have a full tutorial and you'll be able to find the link here. So now that we know what uebersicht, or however it's pronounced, is, we need to install it. We already installed brew in a step before. So now the only thing that you need to do is run this command. So just copy this, go to your terminal, paste it, and that is going to install uebersicht or uebersicht. Notice that I left a link above here to the GitHub repo. So if we click on this and open it in a new tab. So if you like this project, make sure you give it a star. And if you want to learn more about it, just scroll down and go through the README. Something that I forgot to mention is how I found out about Simple Bar. And that was in the Discord Ghosty community. So if we jump there, you're going to notice that this under Showcase, in the Showcase channel, there's this nice thread. And it was this specific post by, I don't know why the name is not shown here. Oh, is it because of this? Yeah, it was because of that. Mirror Heart. This is the image that was posted. And this is the configuration shown here. Uebersicht or uebersicht, whatever that is called. Here is Simple Bar and the Simple Bar server as well. I'm going to leave a link to this thread in the video description. And if you want to thank someone about this video, it would be this person. So again, Thank you very much, and let's jump back into the video. Okay, so notice that after installing the application, I configured its preferences so that the widgets folder points to a different directory. How did I do that? If I put my mouse at the very top of the screen, it's going to show up here. So I'm just going to click on it. Notice that I'm going to click here under preferences. And here you can choose the widgets folder. Notice where mine is pointing to. It's pointing to my dotfiles. So you can choose whatever folder you want here. And this would be the folder, of course, where you will download SimpleBar. The other settings that I changed here is that I just set it to launch when I log in, and this enable interaction. I don't remember if it came enabled by default or not. After installing it, we need to install SimpleBar. I left a link to the documentation here. Just gonna open it to show it to you real quick. Let me go to the documentation. Here's all the information. So just go through it if you have any questions or issues. One of the requirements is that the folder containing the widget must be named SimpleBar. Otherwise, SimpleBar will never launch. This is something that I read in the documentation, so I'm just leaving it here so you keep it in mind. Also, the SimpleBar directory didn't exist in my widgets directory, but it was created with the git clone command that I ran below. So in case that you want to clone SimpleBar to a specific directory, here is the command git clone, the repo itself, and you have to specify where you want to store this. In my case, I'm storing it here in my .files latest, this folder, widgets. Notice that I'm naming this SimpleBar. This didn't exist, but this did exist before. So make sure that the directory where you want to store that exists. So just grab this, copy it, paste it in your terminal, and that is going to clone SimpleBar into this directory. After you install SimpleBar, both SketchyBar and SimpleBar are going to be running at the same time. So if you're running SketchyBar already, you need to stop it. Otherwise, this is what you're going to see. If I click on this image, notice that SketchyBar shows on the top and SimpleBar is shown in the background. So how did I stop SketchyBar with this command? Brew services stop SketchyBar. And even if you reboot, this is going to make SketchyBar not to start when you turn the computer back on. So I'm just going to disable SketchyBar for now. I don't want to uninstall it yet. If you want to uninstall it, it's fine. You can do that as well. In case that you want to run SketchyBar at startup again, you can run this command. But for now, I'm just going to stop it. Here we can see the differences between SimpleBar and SketchyBar. This is my own SketchyBar config as of January 2025. I'm gonna click on this image. You're gonna notice that I had my microphone here, the name on the app on the left, the macOS logo. I can change the color, CPU usage, volume if I'm on Ethernet or Wi-Fi, GitHub notifications, and this is the amount of packages that are outdated, and I mean brew packages. And here the date, of course. If I move on to the next image, you're gonna notice that this is the default SimpleBar configuration. This is what you get out of the box. Here on the left, you have the different spaces or desktops that you have running in macOS or desktops. Here you can create a new one and the different applications that you have running on each space or desktop. Battery, volume, Wi-Fi, date, and time. Let's move on to the next image. And this is how SimpleBar looks after running a few changes. So it's just to give you an idea on the different visual options that you have for the bar. Again, these images are going to be in the blog post and you'll be able to see them yourself. Here are the things that I wanted to change when I started using this bar. By default, you see all the different desktops and the apps on each one of them. I don't need that because the only thing that I need is the app that I'm working on at the moment. And you may be wondering why. And this is because I use yabairc in stack mode. So I don't use macOS workspaces or desktops. I keep all the different applications in the same desktop. And then if I need to switch to an application, I use a key map. So for example, if I need to switch to Ghosty, I'm going to type here hyper-AJ. If I need to switch to my browser, hyper-AK. If I need to switch to YouTube, hyper-AY, and so on. I have many different key maps, not only these. One for each one of the apps that I use the most. And why is this useful? Because I don't want to specify in which desktop each application starts. I don't want to manage my apps. I just want them all in the same desktop and I just want to switch to them. And I'm going to let you know how I achieve that with yabairc in stack mode in a little while. I use a single monitor, single screen, and I strongly believe that you don't need more than one monitor. Unless there's a special case, if you're streaming or something, but other than that, not necessary. Notice here that there's a list of the things that I want to change for the application. I don't want to see the time. I just modify that. I just want to see the date, including the year. But I think it's not possible to get the year here and the date. At least I didn't see an option in this date widget. So I think that to achieve this, I need to disable the built-in date widgets and create my own. I also need a microphone indicator that shows me the name of the microphone and the input volume. Notice that this one shows me the input volume, but it does not show me the name of the microphone. So I think I'll have to create a custom widget for that as well. I still don't know. I'll have to figure it out. Notice that also if my main connection is Ethernet, I would like to see an Ethernet icon here. I only see a Wi-Fi icon, but if I'm going out through Wi-Fi, I would like this icon to change to this Wi-Fi. And if none of them work, Ethernet or Wi-Fi, I want to see a Wi-Fi icon, but with a dash on it or a strike through or something that shows me that I'm not connected to the internet. And that's something that I do in SketchyBar. If we open this link that I have here, it's going to take us to a new page. And here is my wi-fi.sh script. I did this myself and it does exactly what I mentioned right now. So I think I will have to create a custom widget for SimpleBar if I want to achieve this. The Apple logo is something that I was able to do. That comes with the default config. I didn't need to do anything special. So I'm just going to mark this task as done. I'm going to switch to Ghosty here. Let me search for Apple logo. Where is it? Here. I'm going to mark this as done, Alt X, and that is going to move it to the completed tasks section at the bottom of the page. You can see that here. Let's go back to the browser. I'm just going to refresh this and the task is gone. Notice that something else that I want to implement is to check if there's an option to shut the computer down from the logo. That's not really necessary, but I'll dig around and see if it's possible. Also change the Apple logo color like in SketchyBar. I haven't seen if that's possible either. I don't think so in the default config. And I also want to have a D&D indicator, the same way that I do in SketchyBar. If I'm in D&D, SketchyBar is going to show me that, and it's quite useful if I'm recording a video or something. At the moment, I have not implemented that here, but I will probably do so in the future. So subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. If you want to learn how I use yabairc in stack mode, keeping one single application on the screen at a time, also how I set my terminal transparent, and how I do window management in macOS, here's the video. I'm going to leave a link here. Go and check it out. But also, if you want to learn how I switch to my different applications using key maps, how I change system settings as well using key maps, how I switch between CMOX sessions, and way more other things, check out this video as well. I go over every single thing in detail there. Notice that after playing around with SimpleBar, I applied a few changes, which are the ones that you see here on the screen at the top. One of the things that I wanted to implement is the brew outdated packages indicator, and it's shown here. At the moment, it's telling me that I have 10 packages outdated, so I can run a brew update and upgrade if I wanted to. This is quite useful, at least to me. Okay, so how do you do this? First, you have to click on the bar itself. Just gonna right click, left click, and then I'm going to type here command, comma, and a window is gonna pop up. I don't see it because I use yabairc in stack mode, but if I click here on the desktop, you're gonna notice that the window is there. And here's where you can configure all the different options for the application. If we go to global, these are my settings. Notice that I'm using yabairc, so that's why this is selected here. If you're using aerospace, you have to select that here as well. I have this external config file option selected. I can export all the settings and import them. Here's the themes section. This is the theme that I'm using at the moment. Light theme, I don't care because I don't use it, but this is the one that I'm using. Just gonna go over each one of the sections so you can just see what's going on. Now let's go to process. Here are the options for process. I only want to display the current process name, that's it. And I also selected this hide window titles because I don't need that as well. If we go to spaces, notice that I set this to 0 because I don't want to see spaces. Remember, I use a single desktop and all of the applications are there, so I don't care about spaces at all. I also hit this create space button for yabairc because I don't need to create new spaces. If we go to widgets, you're going to notice the widgets that I have active at the moment. I disabled this browser track because I don't really need it, to be honest, but it's quite nice in case that you want to have it enabled. Weather, I don't even have that enabled. Yep, I don't have it enabled. This network stats, I don't have it enabled. CPU usage, I do have it enabled. Display as graph, that's why you see this here. And if I click on it, it's going to open Activity Monitor. Notice that you can also set the refresh frequency here. Memory, I don't have this enabled. And I'll scroll to the right. Battery is enabled. Notice that when you click on the battery, it's going to toggle this application. You're gonna get a notification and all. So it's quite nice. you can pass the options. You can read the different options here. Notice that if you don't pass any options, which is the default, it's going to prevent the system from sleeping, not the display. Network, I'm not using this, I think. Oh yeah, I'm using this. Hide the network name. I don't need to show that. VPN, I'm not using this, but I'm just going to show you the settings. I'm not using this either, I think. Sound, here are the settings. Microphone, here are the settings as well. The date, short format. But notice that it does not have an option to show the year, and I think it should, because I do need to see the year there. The time, I don't have the time enabled, but here are the settings. Keyboard, I don't have it enabled. Crypto, I don't have it enabled either. Stock, I don't have it enabled. Spotify is enabled. Show animated specter, that is enabled by default, I guess. Let's scroll to the right a little bit more. YouTube Music, I don't even have this. iTunes, I don't have iTunes. MPD via MPC, I don't even know what this is. Browser, I have this disabled. It shows you what track you're playing on your browser. If you're in a YouTube video, you're gonna see the name of the video at the top. User widgets. This is the custom widget that I created. Notice that it's called brew, and here is the command. Instead of having a command here, you can point to a script. So notice that I'm doing two things here, exporting the path variable first, and then running this brew outdated command. And that is what shows me that I have 10 outdated packages. You can choose the icon as well if you click here, and you can also create more custom widgets here. And if you can create more, you can specify the order of the widget. Notice here you specify the color. That is the color that you see here. And the refresh frequency. I think I have it set to 30 minutes if I'm correct. And if we scroll to the right, we're going to notice here the custom styles. By default, these are not the colors that SimpleBar uses. These are the colors for my specific theme. The one that I use in NeoVim, SketchyBar, Ghosty, and my Starship prompt. And basically everywhere in my system. So now I'm just going to click here to exit out of this. And I'm going to jump back to my browser. So remember that the instructions are here. You just click on the bar. You're going to see the red line across it. And then you press Command, comma. And that is going to bring up the options menu. Notice that I left a note here. This is where you change all the settings. We already saw that. This is where you import and export the configuration at the bottom. You can see that in the image here as well. And this is also where you create the custom widgets, which is what we showed a moment ago as well. That was the next section here, but we already covered that. How to change the theme color settings, we already covered that as well. I'm going to show you where my configuration file is in a minute. Notice that if you use yabai, you need to add something to your yabairc file. So let me switch to Ghosty real quick, and I'm just going to open here the outline. Let's go here to yabai configuration. Just going to hide this, and I'm just going to open this file. Let me switch to my .files latest directory, and I'm just going to search here for yabairc. This is the file. Notice that at the very top of the file, I added this configuration, or is it this? So just make sure that if you use yabai, you add this at the top. I left that here in the blog post, so you can just copy and paste this configuration shown here. Again, notice here that this file, which is the yabairc file that I use, can be found in my .files, and here is the file, yabairc. In case that you like what you see in my .files, if you find useful information there, make sure to give them a star. We're at 391 stars at the moment, and this is where you will be able to find all of my different configuration, macOS, NeoVim, Ghosty, SketchyBar, basically everything. There's a few things that I need to figure out. I don't know how to switch to the default bar configuration. I deleted everything in the widgets directory. I cloned the SimpleBar repo again, but it's still loading this configuration. So I'm not sure where the default config is stored and if I can import it, but I just wanted to go back to the default to compare, and I couldn't. So if you know where that file is, let me know down in the comments. There's another thing very important that I like doing with SketchyBar, and that is to trigger updates from external events. So for example, if I mute my microphone, I run a script, and this is the script shown here. Notice that it's in the SketchyBar directory. Again, you find this in my .files. And this script updates the mic icon in SketchyBar. So what you see here gets updated immediately when I execute this script. I haven't played around with this too much, but I think this is where this SimpleBar server comes in handy. If you go to this repo, you're going to see that this is a server for SimpleBar that enables communication with its data widgets and allow them to be refreshed or toggled with simple curl commands. Notice that it needs to run a local small Node.js server on which SimpleBar's components will be able to connect to via WebSockets. All of this was found in the documentation. Notice that here are some examples on how to interact with the widget. So you just run a command, localhost, the port that this is listening on, the widget name, which is time, and then you just refresh it, or here you can toggle it. This is a user widget. Also, you can refresh it or toggle it, hide the CPU widgets, or show it. I have not played with this yet, but it's all in the documentation. It seems pretty simple, and I'm going to leave a link to the documentation here as well. Notice that I have here on the right-hand side a demo to switching between the two different bars. So let's do that real quick. I'm gonna switch to my terminal right now. I'm gonna go to my home tmux session, and I'm just going to run here, Control R to bring FCF. And let me type here SketchyBar, and I'm going to start it because it stopped at the moment. Gonna hit enter here. Notice that SketchyBar shows at the top. Now what I'm going to do is to hide SimpleBar. So I'm just gonna go here to the top, gonna click here, and I'm just going to click here on hide widget. And notice that it basically disappeared. Just gonna get rid of this notification. Notice that I have 10 packages that are outdated. Notice that I have an indicator here showing me that I'm in D&D mode at the moment. Shows me the name of the microphone and the level. And notice what happens when I mute the microphone. Notice here on my right hand, I'm gonna press this key and the microphone is going to be muted immediately. So I'm just gonna tap this in 3, 2, 1, and the mic. And I just unmuted the microphone, and as you were able to tell, it switches there in SketchyBar at the top. So this is the way that SketchyBar looks. Maybe it looks a little bit outdated because I have not updated it in a while. I would like to know, which one do you like the best? Do you prefer SketchyBar, which is the one shown right now, or do you prefer SimpleBar? I would like to know that. And if you can, let me know why in the comments. Notice also that if I hover over this, I can change the volume. I have to click on it, and it shows me this so that I can change the volume. I have to click on it again. It doesn't feel as smooth as the other bar, but it gets the job done. Now I'm just going to stop this. Let's switch back here, Control R, stop, SketchyBar. This is the command that I need to run. Notice that it stopped it. Now I need to come to the very top of the screen. I come here, and I'm just going to uncheck this, and the bar is gonna show up again. So notice that that's something that I wanted to do here. I'm just gonna mark this task as done. You already saw how the microphone is muted from SketchyBar, and it happens immediately. So I'm just going to mark this as done as well. I'm gonna show you how the microphone is muted here in this other bar. I'm gonna press the button in 3, 2, 1. I just pressed it again. You're gonna notice that it takes a few seconds for the icon to refresh. There it goes. And I guess this is because I need to run the SimpleBar server to make this happen immediately, the same way that I do it in SketchyBar. Alright, so what are the differences between the two bars and which one do I like the best? SimpleBar feels faster, it feels more responsive, and has more of a native app feel. Maybe my SketchyBar configuration or theme is a little bit outdated, so I'm gonna play around with SketchyBar. I'll try to make it look cooler, and we'll see how that goes. And we'll probably create another video regarding that. Notice here that at least with my current SketchyBar configuration, SimpleBar looks cooler. Notice that if I play this song that is shown here, notice how the animation looks. Notice how it moves the letters there. I'm just gonna click here, and it's going to play the song automatically. You can see here on the right-hand side that there's some sort of animation. So it looks a little bit more dynamic, I think. Looks a little bit smoother compared to SketchyBar. I'm just gonna pause the song, just click on it and it pauses it immediately. So I like those two things about SimpleBar a lot. There's a few things that I prefer on SketchyBar, and I'm just gonna list them here. I like keeping all my config files in my dotfiles, so that's the way that I manage SketchyBar. If I modify something in my dotfiles repo, the changes are applied to SketchyBar, and I manage the config using symlinks, but I cannot do the same with SimpleBar. Every time I make a change in the GUI, I have to export the configuration file, and if I want to import that configuration, let's say to a different computer, I would have to grab that file and import it. And one other thing that I think is happening is that it does not recognize symlinks. So if it's a symlink, you will not be able to import the file. And I just manage symlinks. That's some sort of an issue for me. But notice that this issue was created if I open this in a new tab. The maintainer is working on a solution, it seems. So we'll see what happens. If you want to go to this issue and read more about it. Notice that I left here. Hopefully, there will be a way to modify a file in your .files that is sym-linked to a config file, and the application will be able to read the config, even if it's from a symlink, the way that SketchyBar works. And hopefully, we can avoid the exporting and importing of the configuration. The next item we have here is that SketchyBar is a standalone app and is installed through Brew. So, if there are updates applied to SketchyBar, the only thing that I need to do is to update my Brew applications, and that's it. But on the other hand, if I want to update SimpleBar, since I keep the configuration in my .files, I would have to create a Git submodule and pull the changes when I want to update to the latest version. So just keep in mind that I'm cloning SimpleBar to an existing repo already, which is my .files. So I have a repo inside a repo. So if I want updates, I would have to do this. If there's an easier way, just please let me know. The GUI that we just saw where all the settings are changed works great, but I would honestly prefer to manage everything in configuration files, the same way that I do in SketchyBar. I know that configuration files are not for everyone, but at least in my case, it makes things way easier. I could live without the GUI completely, as long as I have a configuration file that I can modify. I also have a color scheme selector, and it allows me to change the colors everywhere in my system, including SketchyBar. But this is not possible in SimpleBar because I would have to import the SimpleBar RC file after I apply the changes. So what does this mean? Let me disable this real quick. I'm just going to hide this, hide widget. Now I'm going to switch back to Ghosty, and I'm going to start SketchyBar. We can see SketchyBar at the top. Now I'm going to do something. I'm going to type here hyperCN. Notice that this shows up. This is the color scheme selector. And I'm going to choose a different theme. I'm going to choose this darkwitching.sh. Just going to type enter here. And let's see what happens. You're going to notice that a lot of different things are going to be changed. So notice that even the Skitty Notes app on the right-hand side was restarted with a different color scheme. Notice that my Tmux bar here was modified as well, has a different color scheme as well. SketchyBar on the top now has different colors. Remember that this one was blue, now it's green. And even the ghosty color scheme was changed as well. So if, for example, I run NeoFetch here, you're going to see that the new colors are being used. This is something that I can do with SketchyBar because it manages config files, but it's not something that I can easily do with SimpleBar at the moment. Notice that the next item that I have here is that to update a widget from an external event, like when I mute my microphone, I need to spin up this SimpleBar server and send the curl command to refresh the widget. This is simpler to achieve in SketchyBar because the only thing that I need to do is to execute the bash script related to the widget, and I don't need to spin up an additional server. So overall, I feel that SketchyBar is more customizable. I can move widgets around to whatever I want. I can basically change anything I can think of. But this may be a skill issue on my side because I'm not that experienced with SimpleBar yet. I need to play around with it a little bit more. But so far, I just like how SketchyBar can be customized more. Notice that if you want to learn more about the color scheme selector, which is what we just saw a moment ago, I have a video and I explain everything in detail there. This is just a series of bash scripts, so if you're using Linux or macOS, you can follow this and it should work. So go and check this video out. If you have additional tips to SimpleBar, please let me know down in the comments. If there are things that I can improve, let me know as well. If there are different bars that you use, if it's not SketchyBar or SimpleBar, let me know as well which one you use, because I just want to learn more and try different stuff. Remember that all of this information is going to be in the video description. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. That's it for today. I'll see you in the next video.